and we'll have everything. No more, no, no more, no, no more.
Today, I'm also pleased to announce that the new recreational cannabis regime will officially come into force on October 17th of this year.
No more, no, no more, no, no more, no, no.
I mean, I think people should just try it. But even if you don't want to try, I mean, it's like, honestly, it's harmless. You should just try it.
Number of years ago, as anyone has, I was having an evening where there was a joint passed around, and I took a puff.
There's a huge lack of research in cannabis because governments haven't properly funded the research. So there's going to be a lot more myth busting as this issue develops.
Getting to know people and connecting with these worlds is really, really important. It's probably an advantage that, a cannabis-focused publication has, is that, we've, been developing these relationships for some time. We are familiar with it. It is not treated as a foreign subject. And so I think, really embedding yourself and understanding what's going on here is important.
I think budget constraints would be the only thing that would prevent outlets from having fully dedicated cannabis reporters, but we are already seeing that happening. I mean, the Winnipeg Free Press has a cannabis reporter, the Post, the Globe and Mail.
I resubscribed to the Globe and Mail for cannabis coverage. I have a friend there who told me that their digital team was given explicit instructions. Anything cannabis, we want to cover it.
Hold me close. At the Globe, we are making an effort to be audience first. We saw a huge interest in cannabis stories, and so we did consciously, make a decision to say, when a cannabis story is coming up, how are we going to approach that? Is it going to be something that we, believe is exclusive for our subscribers? Is it a health issue that we believe is important to everybody? So there are a few different tiers involved, but the world is watching. Things are changing around this substance. So I think watching a country like Canada, not a state, but an entire country, it's going to be a really interesting story. So I do think the resources are warranted.
I actually do get the sense that people are tired of the reefer madness mentality in reporting for cannabis. A lot of it even starts with the headlines. We see a lot of puns and jokes and headlines and leads, and I think that's fine because cannabis is funny, or it can be funny. The headlines like, study proves this, study proves that. In reality, the really, really big conclusive research has yet to begin.
The Denver Post knew that they wanted to cover this beat differently than they'd covered a lot of the other beats. And that meant assigning a full-time editor, creating a standalone website to cover this first of its kind experiment.
Cannabis is a lot safer, a lot less addictive, a lot less deadly than alcohol. To realize that you were lied to all those years has been just kind of something that I've had to struggle with.
I think Canada absolutely needs many, many, many full-time journalists covering this beat exclusively, because they themselves have been lied to for a majority of their life, and they have to get that straight. And, it's a steep learning curve.
We've moved a long way from when, weed was just a counterculture thing, something that hippies engaged in. Now it's a multi-billion-dollar industry.
Particularly when you get really deep into the cannabis community, there's an even higher degree of cynicism, skepticism. The media's job there is not to encourage their readers to throw all their money at the industry. The media's job there is to really try to act like a gatekeeper and look at the industry critically.
I would say that the cannabis industry matured incredibly quickly to become sort of like every other corporation. So you can see some of the major papers have really started to pour resources into covering cannabis. They've got multiple beat reporters, they've got sections of their website, they've got countdown clocks. All of these things are great to see. It's going to be interesting how it evolves sort of post-legalization because, sort of up until the moment, there's a lot of hype, there's a lot of anxiety. It's almost as if it's going to be strange when the sky doesn't fall, when society doesn't change that much. So it'll be interesting to see how that's reflected in the media.
We still are in a place where a lot of Canadians are really afraid of cannabis. They don't know even where to start with it. But I think that over the next 5 years, especially in the immediate aftermath of legalization, there are going to be a lot of kinks for the government and for the provinces and for even individual retailers and cannabis producers to sort out. And I think that's going to be an endless source of stories. Canada is the first wealthy nation to legalize and regulate this drug for recreational purposes. And we're really leading a way around the world. People are going to be looking at us. And, even beyond just a domestic audience, I think there's going to be an enormous international audience for really quality Canadian cannabis journalism.